Welcome, seekers and visionaries, to Oracle Mountain Chats. Here on this sacred virtual peak, we gather, a space for oracles to share their wisdom, their visions, and their craft. It all began with a calling I could not ignore. One day, within a vision, I held this conch shell in my hands, and as I blew its resonant note into the world, I felt its vibration ripple across unseen realms. It was a summons, a signal to fellow oracles scattered near and far. I saw that we were on a mountain, vast and towering, reaching into the heavens. At its base, the world buzzed with life, people moving, creating, searching. Yet at the summit, there was stillness, clarity, and a circle of light. There, oracles stood, their gaze focused both outward and inward. They spoke of the energies they felt, the shifts they saw, and the whispers of the unseen. They weren't above the world, they were its witnesses and its guides. From this vision, OracleFest was born, a celebration of connection, insight, and the timeless wisdom that flows through us all. Here we gather as oracles, to share the visions Spirit whispers to us, to speak of the energy currents flowing through nature and humanity, and to help guide those who seek answers in a world that often feels lost. So grab a seat, breathe in the mountain air, and join us as we begin today's chat. Whether it's an energy reading, a conversation about our craft, our path, or simply sharing a perspective on the world below, this is where we wait for more oracles to join us on the mountain. What wisdom will the mountain bring us today? Let's find out together. Step into this sacred space where the wisdom of the ages converges with the questions of the present. Okay, and welcome back to Oracle Mountain, this sacred space, the virtual mountain peak, which has given us so many gifts so far throughout a whole year of Oracle Fest events, which some people know and some people don't. Some people, saw the podiums as they were coming out, and some people missed them. And I'll hear them say, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait for Oracle Fest again." And I was like, hey, we haven't left. We've been here. But this year, coming into 2026, we're doing so much more with Oracle Fest. So I'll be sharing some videos soon about what the whole year looks like. So anyone who's considering the Star All Access Pass can actually know what that's going to involve, because we're having more podiums, more workshops. I feel like I'm at a Monsters truck rally, like more, or an infomercial or something. But part of this last year, we've gotten to see some returning speakers, and I would say a really welcome and gentle and also knowledgeable addition to our speaker panels and to our workshops and events has been Anna Frolik. So welcome back, Anna. Welcome to Oracle Mountain.
Thank you so much, Kate. I'm so excited to be back.
It's so lovely when, when I meet speakers, there's always a feeling of like, oh, this person really gets it. And Anna was one of the people where I thought, oh, she really gets it, because she, similarly to me, has lived also a bit more nomadically and taking adventures and really living from the heart and from intuition. And that's just something I can say directly to you, Anna, that I really respect. And I just had a call recently this week where the speaker was talking to me about how it felt like that's really living what we're teaching. And it's not easy. It's like a very scary thing when you're starting out. And at the same time, so rewarding that you kind of can't question it at a certain point. And I feel like you're at that point similar into my world, where you just go, wow, it's amazing that this actually just works. The more you trust yourself, the more you believe in yourself. And so from that self-belief, you've created so much. And I think it's cool for people who are considering creating an Oracle deck themselves. You are like such a great go-to gal for that. So I'm so blessed that you're joining the Oracle Fest event once again. And for people to learn from you, you'll be in the how to read Oracle cards workshop as well. So people will get to see you more than once. And I think you're joining us for the live readings, are you not, as well?
Yes.
So then we'll get to see your decks. It's so amazing. I just love it. And that's, example of how it just is so easy to fit right in. So I'm curious how your year has been going. And I'm talking to a lot of people about how 2026 is feeling and how it's going as well. So I'm curious what you've been receiving or what you have on the go.
Yeah, so anyway, 2025 was definitely a year of big transformation for me, and what you were just sharing about, really living fully and following our hearts and living what we're teaching, I guess, all of that. But I feel like this past year especially has been a big leap back into that, and I just very radically let go of all the things that were no longer feeling aligned. And I'd already felt that for quite some time, but I just knew, okay, now is the time. I gotta, let go of things. And like, especially one big leap was basically letting go of my main income stream in my business. And I'd seen that coming, and there's some of the world events that played into that as well that just gave me that final nudge, but it just felt so liberating. And along with that, really committing to stepping back into a more joyful path and especially embracing my creativity that was had been on the back burner for a long time because I had been mostly focusing on helping my clients bring their card decks to life, and that had been a beautiful journey and learned a lot and all of that, but I'd just been keeping my own creativity on the back burner for quite a long time, and that was starting to feel a lot more like, pressure and just there was something missing. So I
Thing that it
felt
feels
like,
almost like an emptiness and a pressure at the same time, like what you're describing. I've gone through that as well in the last year of like, okay, it feels like you have to walk away from even more than you were expecting. And also you were sort of seeing it coming, but I don't really want to, like, there's a comfort or, hey, there's nothing really broken with that. So do we really have to leave it? Like, it's only a little bit annoying sometimes, but there's like the emptiness piece is actually what comes up. Then you're like, what's that supposed to be? And you have to make space for welcoming whatever it is. And then it's like, the more you know what's coming in, you have to make even more space, it felt like this year.
mm, yeah, exactly. And I feel it's been different from maybe previous times when I did that, where I took such radical leaps. I feel like this time I was a lot more attached to wanting to maintain something solid. And, I had a really good foundation for something that I could have built on. And like previously, when I closed something down, usually I wouldn't think about it so much, or I wouldn't hold on to the security of that thing that I had built so much. But this time, like, it really took me a long time to just, be okay with like even judge myself a little bit for, why am I doing this again? Why am I burning down, what I've created once again? And but then I knew, okay, I got to do this. And it, once I really gave myself permission, it felt so good, and it freed up so much space for what wanted to come to life. And then I really felt the support that was there too. Like, it felt so guided in a lot of ways as well. And then
How did you know it felt guided? Like, in what kind of ways? If people are like, okay, I feel like I'm halfway on what Anna's talking about, but I'm not at the place where I can trust it or take action, which I'm sure, we've felt at some point earlier in our journeys as well. How did you know that you were like supported or guided?
yeah, there were a few things. I think one part was just feeling more and more resistance towards um, continuing on that same path and just
Yeah,
seeing, maybe I did sign another client and then it just felt so frustrating when like the littlest thing that goes wrong, then I just felt don't want to deal with that anymore. So that was part of it, and just realizing I'm not doing anyone a service by, you know, committing to those kinds of projects when then, everybody's gonna feel it if I'm not 100% on board.
of course.
Um, and
I
then
think it's
the
such
other,
a gift, like to give to others the fact that you are in alignment, right? Because often we are not going towards the things we want to do because we're worried about what other people are going to be affected. And like they're getting way more affected if you're not in perfect alignment for where, no, I mean, perfect is perfect, but if you're not in good alignment with what you really want, they're going to feel that, right? Like in some kind of way, it has to have some sort of ripple effect. I wish more people acknowledge that because that's part of where the pressure builds. And I was saying this past year that it's like, it's very important to get a bitter taste in your mouth about something because it's telling you you're outgrowing or this isn't right for you anymore. Right. And so you have to be constantly getting uncomfortable and rejecting and resisting and, displeased with your circumstances. in
Yeah,
order to grow.
exactly.
Such a pain.
Yeah. And so that was a big part of it, but then also the new thing that was calling me. I mean, that I knew for quite some time that I wanted to create a new deck of my own and in the fall, I think it was September 2024, this really clear idea came through all of a sudden after Medicine Journey, or maybe when I was in the journey. And I just knew, okay, I got to create a new deck. It's time. It's going to be a fairy deck, and I'm going to start creating it now. And as soon as I started taking action, and I asked my illustrator if she wanted to help me with it, and then everything just flowed so effortlessly. And I knew that I wanted to launch it on Kickstarter, and like immediately I got so much support from unexpected places and people with big audiences sharing my deck and my campaign, and that helped so much. So that's one example. And then the Kickstarter went really well, and yeah, so that was my biggest project this past year. I'm really excited it's here now. And oh, I think the Zoom thought I raised my hand, but
Oh, that's funny. It doesn't
just got
actually tell me.
confused there for a second.
Yeah, that's funny. The Oracle of the Magical Fairy Forest.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. It's so precious whenever I'm seeing these images come out for this deck, and when you're sharing it out online, I get such a like heartwarming feeling with it. It's so beautiful. So you were thinking about that since 2024, like that it had popped in, and then you were like, okay, I've got to trust myself, got to develop this, like press it forward, work it through, which tells me you have to have like self-belief or discipline or consistency in some kind of way to be able to bring this to fruition. Would you say that that's true?
Yes, in some ways, but I would say it flowed really easily. And part of it, of course, was that I had already created so many decks before with for myself and also a lot of them for my clients and with my clients. So I was very intimately familiar with the process, and
Yeah,
that made it really easy for me. I didn't have to go research a lot or figure out a lot. I mean, there were some things, some new things that came into play, like for example, the tariffs that came as a surprise that I wasn't expecting, that required me to, yeah, just kind of rework part of the process while I was already running the Kickstarter and then right
right.
before I got my decks shipped and all of that.
Did that
But
scare
even that
you?
was so intuitive. No, the
Oh,
thing is,
okay.
it was so intuitively guided, and I
Mhm.
just like even before I knew what was really going to happen, I just had a sense of what I needed to do, and that ended up being the exact thing that I needed. So it all
Right.
worked out.
I love that.
So yeah. So one thing was while having a warehouse space in the US, so I don't have to ship from here in Canada. That would have been a disaster. That was what I originally wanted to do, like ship everything from here in Canada. And then while we were traveling a lot, my partner and me, and doing a lot of house sitting here in Ontario, and just thinking about maybe traveling elsewhere too, not just this past year, but in the future. And so I felt like, I feel like I need a better solution, for not basically not having to do all the shipping myself. And I'd already had a solution that I'd used in the past in the US and a few that I'd tried out. But yeah, I just had this intuitive nudge all of a sudden. I feel like I need to reach out to this company and ask them if they'd be willing to fulfill my Kickstarter orders for me. And they said yes. And then only after that, yeah, like all these yeah, it's a little technical, but just this whole thing happened where it would have been really complicated and also expensive to
Costly.
ship from here in Canada to the US. And so I'd already figured that out, and I was so glad. That's just one example of, when you're really tuned in and you're really trusting what your body's telling you, that you just like intuitively do the things that you need to do, even if you don't know it yet on a mental
Absolutely.
level.
Yeah, it's often too like it is kind of that feeling of you feel more open or more relaxed or more relieved thinking about one option versus the other, even though you don't know which one is like right in quotation marks. And information might tell you that two of them are right, then it's not the one you were thinking of, you know? And then, but the option you choose is the option like you will find the smoothest path. So it's funny because it's like, it's not like we could give the exact same advice to any one person. And I'm sure you find that when you're helping Oracle deck creators, is like you can't just give one person, here's the way you're going to do it, here's the way to do it, because there will be that intuitive feeling of like, this is how we're meant to, or, you know, other people are meant to self-fulfill. Other people are meant to go another route, right? With how they distribute their decks. I had a nice little moment when I was chatting with Dr. Stephen Farmer, and I was telling him, oh, you know, this OracleFest thing feels pretty big. I was like a little still intimidated by it. This is in the spring. I would still say there's a healthy level of humble intimidation with it. But I had this moment of like, okay, there's this way that I could see things shifting and moving, or at least in my career, whether it's OracleFest or not, there was a way that I could see myself doing work in more of like a TV production or studio or film kind of environment again. And I came from that background. That was like what I studied in college, what I did very early in my 20s. So I kind of just was like, I don't think I should go back to that because of the other, you know, other resistances you have in your head. And I think a lot of people do this all the time. They'll have some, you know, beliefs that leave them limited. And certainly with film, I can sometimes be a little like, ugh, weren't easy times, you know, to be in college. So it takes you back to that. And then there was the other way of doing things, which is like, okay, but I don't want to like sell out, or I don't want to like lose the spirit of, so I'll just do it all myself instead of thinking about this way of, you know, going about things. And who knows what that will mean for my career. That was just sort of a vision that was coming up a lot. And so I was talking to him about it. And he said, well, why don't you just see right now which one feels better? Oh, duh. I was like, well, that's so much better than trying to think it through. And it's like the most obvious, quick response. And so I sat there and envisioned in my mind walking into this like TV studio. And I thought in my head, I'm not going to want to go into the studio vision because I don't want to. Like in my head, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's not right. I was trying to convince myself. My mind was trying to convince myself to what was perceived safety, which would have been keeping it smaller in some kind of way in my mind, like not asking for too much or something. And I walked into the like production room, and I don't know whether I was hosting or whether I was producing or what was going on in the situation, but I was like, oh, this could be a great day. This is so fun. And I felt so confident and so easygoing, and it felt so natural. I went, uh-oh, because then I needed to play out in my mind, in my body, the other side of the vision. And I felt like I got punched in the gut. Like I literally felt like someone was like, and I had to sort of cower and be small. And so it convinced me very much so that my body was saying, you're actually ready to consider this being a little bigger than what you're, you know, trying to mentally play it down for. So it is in those like little tiny moments that we actually build the trust and knowing like we're on the right track, right? It's like weighing out those two options. You're going to do the self-fulfillment in Canada and then think about all the moves and all the different things you have going on, or you're going to pursue this US, you know, facility. You're like, oh, that just feels really good. For whatever reason, that feels less stressful. It feels really good. I'm just going to have to go with that nudge, you know? So I love that. That's living the path. Just like I say, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I do part of it from here in Canada as well, but just that was just the one thing that really came through. And I feel like what I'm thinking about right now too is how like we're living in times where nothing is really predictable. Like things can change so quickly. And even if we go by information or what seems logical right now, there's no way for us to even be sure that it's still going to be the same thing a few months from now or you know. So I feel like when we, yeah, like when we just trust what we're feeling, that's how we're actually being guided more accurately in a lot of ways. Like even though there's no
Right.
proof, but that's
Yeah.
the way to really do it. Because
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I've been saying this for years, but now it feels extra true for whatever reasons, right? For whatever reason, where we're at in society, it is so unpredictable. especially when you work for yourself. But even when you don't, I think there's a lot of people who are walking around scared because so much doesn't feel like it's in our control or in our hands, right? But when you are working for yourself or when you're following an intuitive path already, it actually leaves you a lot more risk proof, in my opinion, because it makes it so that it's way easier for you to have a discerning, clear decision that is likely the highest, best path, for if that's where you're trying to focus your energy on. I think that, many top CEOs and executives really get to a place where they appreciate exactly what we're talking about here. Um, but that divide can sometimes feel really extreme when people have not been living from that place. And so then those inklings get louder and louder. I really think what you said, I keep thinking about like circling back to this idea that what you said about like having more resistance towards something being part of what was leading you in the direction that you needed to go and how grateful you are for that. If more people could really understand resistance as the tool and the gift it is, that it's like a neon sign saying, don't go this way, right? And so then it's like, actually, that's a very helpful sign. You do need to know which directions are not for you, especially if on paper, information wise, you had clients and everything was fine. And you had built something you could have continued building because that was your strong thing. And I had the same. I had empath energetics that I'd done for 5 years. And I was like, Kate, are you sure you want to take on OracleFest that is not proven in any way? That's like an idea in your head compared to this thing that you have worked very hard to develop and finally be able to trust in its ability to provide for you. And he was like, yes, 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 yes. When you look at the sign, it's so obvious. If you looked on paper, you would have a big challenge trying to understand why it was that was happening. It's a feeling much more so.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to say too, with resistance, sometimes it can be a bit of a tricky thing. I think there are two kinds of resistance. Like there's this kind of resistance that I was talking about where you just really feel more and more like you're also like holding on too tightly to something that's not healthy anymore and it's just draining your energy and you already know, like usually we already have a sense of where we're going and there's a new vision already coming to life and guiding us forward. But sometimes also, what you were talking about too, when something just feels really big, and we might have that more of that
Resistance to the
fear,
good,
that fear-based resistance
fear of
and
success. Yeah.
or something like, yeah, good example right now. I'm completing my move to Ontario right now, and I had to dissolve my business in BC and register from scratch here and like do all of that. And like I was definitely feeling resistance doing all of that, but at the same time I knew I needed to do it, and it still feels expansive, to step into this new thing. So that's yeah, so I guess a good question to ask is like, where is the resistance coming from? Is it fear or is it just really intuition telling me that, okay, this is not aligned anymore? Usually that's more about often more about moving away from something old, but sometimes it could also be yeah, just something maybe that makes sense that we feel we should step into and it's not aligned. We might feel that as well. So just really developing that sense of trust in ourselves ultimately to be
Yeah.
able to discern where that's coming from.
And doing, I think some A/B testing of like, is this path feeling, more open? As long as you start from a calm place, it's just difficult when we're collectively so information overloaded. A lot of people were quite fuzzy. And so then when you finally clear or, people put down their phone and then they go on a walk, oh, then, oh, it's in the shower. I get all these downloads, you can kind of like so many people to open up that listening fully is like it doesn't feel safe to do as well because we always feel like there has to be like some alertness. So I feel like some of the process of um, allowing this past year to take away all the things that it needed to take away from our lives for me has meant also just relaxing and enjoying the process of seeing what isn't for me and knowing that there must be space opening up for a new thing. I find that very exciting. I'm also an Aries and I love change. So to be fair, maybe I really, really love growing and changing and I've gotten kind of, uh, you know, quite excited by that idea. But I feel for a lot of people, this year is going to be a really big changing one. So even if they are someone who has not made a whole ton of changes or who they've been feeling like they're dragging their feet, we're going into a fire horse year and there's like a number one, backing us. And I call it for OracleFest, I'm calling it the year of the rising phoenix because I just feel this big phoenix energy for a lot of the spiritual people being like, I have been nudged. We have been tugging on my sleeve. It's time. Like I'm ready to go. There's been a lot of more than one person in my life. There's been this energy of like, no holding back this year. Like I'm taking the reins, and it might be a little clumsy as we figure out where the reins are and all that, but it's so much the better move every time. I feel like, I'm sure you agree. It's so much the better move every time, simply to follow your intuition, what you're being guided to do, because that's where it's more fun too, to be honest. Or do it one time at a time.
Yeah, totally. And I feel for me specifically, that's a really important one. Recently, my partner and I were diving into our north nodes in astrology.
Yeah,
I'm a Leo north node.
I love
And
that for
like if I'm
you.
not having fun, I know like I wasn't paying attention to that so much maybe in more recent years, but like
Mm,
all of a sudden it just made sense. Like this is why I had to do this. Like this was so much
yes.
fun and it just really brought my inner child back to life and it's really bringing back the joy and also coming out of hiding, which is another Leo thing. Like I really need to be
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so
visible
glad
and
Oracle Fest exists to give you a platform. If you're a Leo
Mhm.
North Node, you need to be seen. You need to be out there, right? So I love that. Oh, that's so great. I'm a
Yeah.
Capricorn North Node, so I got to build something. Here I am.
That's very different.
Very
Yeah.
different, very different. But my ancestors are always telling me to have fun. That it's like they went through enough suffering. I don't need to suffer more if I don't need to. And so taking the path that actually feels more fun, more enjoyable, easier, usually isn't actually hurting anyone, like not actively. And so a lot of people, they get scared because they're so like, well, what is that going to mean? Well, to who? To who? To what? What are we so worried about when we're stuck in those kinds of constructs? And yeah, you're right about the resistances because sometimes it is like it is a fear of like allowing yourself to get to that next place. And Carrie Ann was going through the replays for Oracle Fest and she found something from the summer, like from the illumination podium. And she was like, oh, wee baby Kate. And I was like, that was maybe 6 months ago. It really wasn't that much time ago, but it does feel like there's been 5 versions of me since then in some kind of way because that feeling of reinvention of self is part of not attaching so much to who we think we are because it keeps getting reinvented. You keep learning more about how much more you can do or what ideas are like ready to, pop out and what you'll be known for. And then you'll change that as different things come through. And I think that's quite exciting if we embrace it. And that's how most careers are going nowadays compared to how they used to go. Like our parents' ages would have been like, stick to this, like, do this all the way through. So I think this is riding the waves the best we can during these uncertain times.
Totally. And I love what you said about, even if maybe you're not a Leo North Node or whatever, but still embracing the fun because I feel like for everyone, this is a really good energy to be in and realizing that when we choose what feels good to us, ultimately we're doing the best for everyone else too. I feel like I've really been living by that and a lot more lately, and I see it being true every single time. We might think, I mean, I have all sorts of ideas. If I'm having too much fun, then maybe, somebody else is not going to have as much fun or whatever. Or, I'm almost like stealing something, an opportunity from someone. But I feel it's really the opposite. The more we can embrace for ourselves what feels good, the more we inspire others to do the same for themselves, and we meet others with that energy too. When we collaborate with someone, they get into that energy as well. And it's like it's that ripple effect that happens throughout the world. And yeah, so I feel like more as maybe the Leo North node, I feel more as, like the ambassador of that as well. It's not just for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all supposed to be having fun. Absolutely. And it can be, it can be a bit of like a trap, the spiritual healing kind of way of looking at things. If we're not cautious about what we're taking in online, we can be like, what's the next problem? What's the next problem? What's the next problem? What else is wrong with me? What needs fixing? And so much so, I feel like a lot of that was also clearing out over the past few years. And so there was also a lot of people being like, point, 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 point. And so now I wonder whether we might be embracing a bit more of a time of like really recognizing each individual is here to like figure themselves out, and we're doing the best we can. And so the best we can do is try to also lighten up in the process and help it feel. That's one of the things I want for OracleFest experiences, is for them to feel like inspiring and also approachable. Like we're not feeling separate anymore as much. I think part of our like all that we've gone through collectively the last many years has been leading us towards community. If where we're coming from is a place of isolating and feeling overwhelmed, we ought to be moving towards the healing of that, which would be calm and connected with each other, ideally, the hopes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like, yeah, I really resonate with what you shared about, healing. I feel like there can definitely be a trap on the spiritual journey when we focus on it too much, or we have this idea that, I mean, it's even conditioned stuff, maybe from our ancestors, like this idea that healing needs to be painful. Like for me, I really resonate with this, like a teacher who shared that, but like basically healing is experiencing the opposite of whatever you experienced in the past.
Yeah.
And so it's not by re-experiencing the same things over and over again, but by allowing ourselves to step into a different experience. And
Mm.
yeah, like if we've been through a lot of suffering, and there's a place for, going through the emotional
Yep.
crisis and everything that can happen, but we don't want to get stuck there, or that idea that we need to fix ourselves in any way, because it's not that. I feel like it's we can actually step away from the fixing and just witness ourselves as exactly who we are, where we're at right now, and just seeing ourselves with love, even no matter where we're at. Then that's really how we start to integrate those wounded parts that also hold gifts, and then I feel like that's what really opens the door to transformation, and then we can, without resisting the shadows and whatever painful experiences we've been through, we can start to open up to something new and start creating something new. And then yeah, the door is open and all possibilities are available. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. It's so true. I had a funny chat with my mom this week because I was saying, oh, how great it is that I'm going to stay in Madeira because the timings happen to work out. And then I was handed the number of the landlord, and it's going to be way cheaper than any of the other, Airbnbs in the area, which is awesome. There's like sea views at this new place, and it's near this fun outdoor fitness park. And I've been wanting to work out more, but I didn't want to go to a gym. I focus on OracleFest, and I don't know how much time I devote to it. But there's this fitness park like 8 minutes from the house now. That's going to be awesome. And then yeah, and then I'll do some pet sitting after that. And my mom was like, "Oh, horseshoes," and I knew exactly what she meant. And I think out of context, if anyone would have seen that, they would have just like, "Oh yeah, you're lucky." But my mom always says I have a horseshoe up my butt because things happen so easily for me, just prancing through the world, and then things just da 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 da. But as much as I can laugh with and say, yeah, it's cool that people think I'm lucky. I really think it's more so about I've made some good decisions from intuition, and they've stacked on top of each other. And so now it feels like the seas have parted and life is a lot more easy. It doesn't actually feel like I'm expecting a tidal wave at any moment because I know how to surf. So, it's like if I'm walking this sort of, I don't know why the parting of the seas came into my mind, but it's almost like this path opens up, right? And then you're just walking this dry path. And if something were to come in, but you're able to ride the wave and then land back on that path again without too much stress, it really doesn't stress you out the same way that it definitely did at some point in my life. And I want that level of like peace or openness or acceptance of what is for anyone that I meet, just to be able to live without the pressure of all the resistance we have to accepting what is, what already is, And so what you're saying about lovingly accepting yourself, you actually won't grow unless you do care about who you are now, right? And accept who you are now, because otherwise you're just switching it for a new hat. It's just new hat, new hat, new hat. And you're not actually getting to know who you are. And the spiritual path is uncomfortable. And I think delayering can be quite uncomfortable, but then it's relief because you are who you are. Right? So for anyone who's like still feeling like the drudgery of taking off hat after hat after hat and hats keep showing up, and then you're like, oh, now I have to take that one off. Eventually the hats run out, I think. And then you're able to just be like, oh, that's what my hair looks like. Here I am. Okay. Okay. All right. Not so bad. It's really not so bad as our minds make it out to be before we face those brave changes and challenges. I felt that more when I was living in an ambulance van, I feel like, because I was like, I don't know where I'm going to live next. And I really can't trust myself to be able to put things together. And then I moved overseas and I was like, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. Maybe I'm just good at this now. Maybe I'm just okay with things, you sort of can adapt. There's a kind of interesting travelism, like a story where there was like some folks who were indigenous to a piece of land. I don't know where this story comes from, but there were some folks who were indigenous to a piece of land, and there was people who were trying to see the land, like people who did not belong from those lands. So they were like, oh, great, we have some indigenous guides. This is going to be perfect. And then they were making like really good speed on the first couple of days, and they thought, oh, we were told this is going to take forever. This is amazing. This is going so fast. And at day 3, everyone just started setting up camp, and they were like, we're resting. And so I guess the explorers, whatever we're going to call them, they were like, wait, what's happening? We want to keep going. And the indigenous folk were like, actually, we're just going to settle right down and wait for our spirits to catch up to us, because we've been walking really fast for 3 days, which makes total sense, because you need to land and have your identity catch up to you and who you are, your spirit and everything, sort of to feel confident. So a lot of people have been feeling like they're resting in this bridge of 25 to 2026. A lot of people who I know really want to take a lot of action feel like they've just been in chill or rest mode. And I think it's always by grand design that people get into these phases, because it is like they then emerge, they come to OracleFest and then they're like, and they're ready to come out of that cocoon and to anything that they're doing in their lives, because they've taken that time in the cave or resting, preparing. Do you have, I feel like you must have an oracle card in your deck that relates to the spirit of that in some kind of way.
Yeah, there's probably more than just one.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of the very first card that we designed for this deck. It's the Sacred Pause.
Yeah,
Try and find it.
exactly.
Here's another one, the Cave Dweller. That's more like the
I love
Hermit
that one.
card.
I really resonate.
Let's see. Yeah, but I really resonate with what you just shared. I feel like December was a lot like that for me.
Me too.
And
I had the
this
flu. I never get the
past,
flu.
oh, me too. Like I was visiting family in Vancouver for a few weeks, and the whole time I was there, I was sick pretty much, which
Bizarre.
is unusual for me. But
It's super unusual for me too, and it threw me off. And thankfully, I was pet sitting a really sweet dog, and he was just like cuddling with me all day and making me feel better, not so sad about losing a week.
so here's the
Oh,
Sacred Pause.
I love it. It's so gentle but like powerful. It's like glowing, but I love that.
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
this was the very first card that we designed for this deck. It was like the test illustration to
Mhm.
help narrow down the vision for the style as well. And
Yeah,
so it's a really special one for me.
yeah, because it like came together through that.
Mhm.
That's funny. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm only on receiving the first image from my Oracle deck artist, and I'm having the same feeling that you're talking about, which is so precious because I'm like, oh, this is where it all started. You know, it's like this is really where it began. So beautiful.
Mhm.
Love that. Super prize.
Here's another one that really speaks to that energy too. This is the Soul Quest card. And this is more about, usually these times take a little bit longer when we really feel like, something needs to change and maybe there's a sense of not being fulfilled on the journey that we're on. Like even though we've maybe experienced a lot of success and done all the things that we thought we wanted to do or we should do, and then there's like this emptiness and we just need to take our time to really feel and reflect and go deep and just allow something new to come in in its own time as well. So I feel like yeah, I've been
Like,
in those kinds of
yeah, because it's
phases
kind of
quite a
like
few times.
searching, that sort of like openness, like not directly searching, but like allowing yourself to be open to receive what your soul is calling to you next. I love that. And I like thinking about it like quests, partly because I have a lot of side quests and it makes me make more sense of them. And as I just call these random side quests, but they come in handy later, you know. But also thinking of a quest, it's like there is a completion that comes for a lot of quests. And often we're hoping that security means we just know exactly what's happening and it's the same thing. But if we trust ourselves in the not knowing places in our lives, then it really becomes fun to think about something closing and then a new chapter opening. So yeah, it's very exciting energy this year in general. What's in the next? Do you have another card that's sticking out to you?
Yeah, there's another one that I just wanted to show you that
I know.
kind of what you were
See them.
talking about too.
I love it.
I already flipped through that one. I'm just trying to find it. But that idea that, being comfortable with the unknown, I feel that's such a big one. Like if we
Yeah.
really want to, fully live our lives, like so often it's going to be that feeling of like, I don't know exactly what's, what's ahead of me, or maybe so it's
Oh, I
the
love that.
unknown path.
So sweet.
Embrace the journey, trust the natural unfolding. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what we talked about earlier too. We might want to make a decision based on logic or what mentally makes sense or whatever, and weighing our options. And we can't really find clarity in that way. And we might just have a really vague intuitive sense sometimes about what's right. And sometimes it's just like really trusting what feels right in the moment, even if we don't know where that's going to lead us. And I feel like for me, this has been such a big part of my journey for many, many years now. But it feels so good to be in that place. Like it can cause a lot of resistance when we think, oh, I need to know all, the next 10 or 100 steps ahead. But actually, everything keeps changing because we only see where we are right now, right? And then when we take a few steps forward, then the landscape changes, and then we have new information and new experiences to draw from too, and new inspiration, and then only based on what that feels like, then we can take the next step. And it's a never-ending journey too. It's like that idea that life, it's not, time is not linear, and it's not like we only have this physical life right now here on Earth, but the journey continues even after that, and it never ends. And so when we realize that, we can really start to appreciate the journey because it's always going to be a journey. We're not really getting to an end destination ever.
Yes. Yeah. We really, humanity in general needs to break up with the idea of end destinations as like the way that we look at ourselves, you know, and our own worth or our, yeah, just like our identity of being like we need to get to a certain point. Because actually, often when we reach those points, there's either something missing or, you know, what I found often is like I'm getting the next download of a whole bunch of things in my mind as to what is actually next. So then you breed a distaste for what used to be your dream at some point, you know, that there's actually like, that's a cool thing to recognize that you're going to reach a dream and then the dream's going to be like, okay, now what? You know, like there is that. So then why would you be attached to one thing versus another when it could be better than what you imagined? There could be more things that come out of that, or you could be taking on a total side quest and it actually becomes the main quest. And we don't know the story, as much as we think we are used to knowing our stories. So I quite like the unknown. I know you've probably grown to enjoy and make more peace with it and kind of find it to be, yeah, more of like a expansive and exciting idea to think about. We don't know actually. So then you can't make it up. We can't make up how it doesn't work out. You don't know how it's going to go. Then you just put yourself day by day towards what it is you're feeling called to the best we can. It's important to have, I think it's like, maybe this might just be my like Jupiter in Virgo speaking, that I like having some plans and systems and
Me
some
too.
not is not surprising, and I love that. We do have these little crossovers, and that explains a lot of it.
Yeah, I have three
Oh,
planets. I have so many Virgo placements. I have three
okay.
planets in Virgo and then like so much in my sixth house. But yeah.
Well, it makes you very good
Mm.
for what you're doing because you're able to see the little details and be able to help people with that. So, absolutely, it makes sense to me. But I think it's like, you have like a general sense of things you're working towards in the future, what you think could happen or might happen. We can't just like ignore the ideas or dreams or potentials, but to be non-attached to it, to really day by day say, oh, well, that'd be nice and that'd be nice and that'd be nice. And I wonder how it's all going to happen. And to let it just be this like, who knows how the movie's going to end instead of trying to predict the whole time. Like, how annoying is that when you sit and watch a movie and someone's making predictions the entire time or saying how it's going to end? And then you're like, well, no, you ruined it. And so we ought not ruin our own endings. We could let them pan out and see how they go. I think that's quite exciting. And Oracle cards are really good at actually helping us come a little bit from the future into the present because it helps us land information we might be receiving in some kind of way. So thank you for the gift of not only your own decks, but also helping others make decks and bring their decks to fruition. Because you haven't directly spoken about it, but this is one of the things that you do is that you help support people creating their own decks because more and more decks need to live in the world for more and more people to find the inspiration that speaks to their heart. And if you're anything like me, you use multiple Oracle decks anyway. And so you like having the ones that really feel like they're where you are at your current moment on your journey, and they are reflecting some part of you. So I like that your deck is reflecting joy and inner child wisdom and the magic of things opening up because it feels so appropriate for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel this deck is really it's integrating my entire journey, let's say from the past 15 years or so, like really the lived experience. When I created my first deck, it was very channeled, like I was receiving all the medicine and the messages that I needed for myself on my journey. And it took me years and years and years to integrate that in the physical. And this is kind of the opposite. I mean, still also new things coming through, but this feels a lot like, yeah, just inspired by what I've experienced on my own journey and how I've really integrated this spiritual wisdom in a more physical way as well. And um, yeah, it feels really good. And of course, there's more coming.
Yeah, so exciting. And it's a very special deck because it also comes with a companion. Like you also have, I know it doesn't come with it unless you get it with it, but that there is built in a companion journal, which I also think is a really special aspect of this project. Because that was different for you too, right? You hadn't done a companion book, had you before?
Um, I had done journals for a few clients,
Hmm.
so I just want to say, okay, so there is a little guidebook included with the
Yes.
deck. I'm just gonna grab the journal. It's
I
right
know,
up
sorry, now
here.
I'm bringing it up because I just think it's special.
But I got it right here. So
Good.
this is the companion journal. This is an actual real big book with um and that was not planned. Like when I um after I had sent the deck to the printer, I think for the first sample or something, then I just felt like I wanted to do something a little bit more with the illustrations and create something that really brings them out. So I really like this this bigger format. It's a really nice
Just, and you get to appreciate the
finish.
art so much more in that, like, whoa, it's larger than life, you know? You get to like really get immersed in it.
And yeah, I feel like one thing I've always enjoyed journaling, and I'm really good at coming up with questions that help people go deeper and really reflect on the very specific things that brings those answers to life and to awareness. And yeah, that just came through very suddenly. It's like I gotta create something more. I'm just gonna and so I started creating that journal, and I ended up making it an add-on for the Kickstarter, which was also a part of the success of the Kickstarter because it like about half of my backers got both, and so that helped it to take off really quickly. And um yeah, so there was a lot that I could share about that too. But I really I'm so glad I did that. And I'd done, yeah, for a few clients, like we did the deck first, and then they had the idea to add on a journal afterwards. So we'd done a few. Um, but again, this was a very new way of doing it as well. Um,
Yeah, and the quality really stands out. You can feel it in, it's a very special project. So, anyone who's also feeling drawn, please go and check that out. I'll put the link below for this Oracle Mountain chat. I'll put the link below there so people can go check it out.
mhm.
And also just like, yay, just celebrating the fact that you've done what it takes to allow something to come to fruition. Because think of how many ideas float in and out of anyone's minds their whole lives. You can say no to a heck of a lot, and you can live out of alignment for a long time because that's what a lot of people are doing. And you've taken so many brave steps along your journey just to get to the point of even having that wisdom to then allow it to live in a project. I think that must feel so good. It's so nice that we get to see something tangible from it as well. That just must, was it like super exciting when it first arrived as well?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's always exciting. There are certain parts of the process that are exciting, like starting the project and seeing the first illustrations. But I would say even after all these years, holding the finished products in my hands, like that's the best feeling when the box or like even the sample arrives. But then when I get the box of decks or
Yeah,
journals, I just have a couple boxes of journals sitting here that I just had to reorder some more, but it's always special.
I love that.
And
It makes me so excited for when that day comes for myself as well. So thank you for giving me all this fuzzy excitement. It's so, so great.
yeah, and then all the little things like this past year, I've really been leaning more into physical products in general too, and getting new things printed. And like every time something arrives, it's just so magical. Like some greeting
Yes.
cards. And I just grab one from the back here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we've got that same one again, but
I love it.
just yeah, so
So
many
sweet.
little things are
Yeah. Yeah, I keep seeing with my deck like tote bags, like oh stickers.
like a
Oh
unicorn
my gosh.
sticker.
I love that. Oh, I've been working with unicorn energy since visiting Mount Shasta last year, and I'm like, talk about resistance. I was like, oh, unicorns, they're so kitty, and then I've really opened up to them. It's so funny how we can sometimes resist the medicine as well. So back to that conversation, but oh, unicorns, that's lovely. Love that. So sweet. And there's so many like, let's see this
Got a
one.
unicorn here. Just
Oh
gotta
my
talk for a
gosh.
second so everyone can see it. But yeah, so that needed to be in the deck as well.
Oh
It's
my
the
God.
Magical Miracles card.
That's so sweet. And
And
it's
it's
number
really about the
11. Number
it's
11
number
in the deck.
33.
33. Oh, that's funny that I misread it, but that it's still a repeating number. Oh, that's awesome.
Number 11 is the leap of faith.
Ooh, I like that. And it makes more sense for 11 as well. You're so on it. I'm a 33 life path, and sometimes when 33 pops up, I just have to shake my head because it means a lot to me to think about it in that context. So I'll be thinking about miracles now tonight. Thank you very much, Anna. And
Yeah.
what a good thing to think about in this year as we go into this propellant type of year, this energy that is backing us to bring more of our ideas out into the world. I know this is the first year I'm ever actually planning on recording my first album. And it feels like it holds a similar kind of like project energy, right? Of, oh my gosh, like, but it's so inspiring to think, yeah, there's Kickstarters that do really well because people believe in the idea and the energy behind it. And that if there's a will, there's a way, miracles happen every day. And that was like some lovely miracle energy around your Kickstarter to just be like, we need this. We need you to finish this in the world. This has to exist. Yeah, and it doesn't lie. All the numbers of people who have been, positively affected by this project. It's so sweet to think that like your first decks you're doing for yourself to like help yourself and make sense of your own path. And it was like so much like a download, like ready to go. It was like, just like sort of flew out of you. I love that. That's why I think a lot of artists and creatives are natural oracles and mystics, because it's like you have to sort of step to the side. Your brain has to step to the side to allow a song to come through, or yeah, an art piece to be realized in some kind of way. Yeah, special.
Yeah, and such a beautiful process. I already can't wait to see what you create. But I feel like, you go really deep with your own personal journey as well, because I feel like birthing something like a card deck or an album, I imagine would be the same. Like it's so deeply personal and it transforms you in ways that you wouldn't expect. Like
Yeah, yeah,
things will shift with it for sure, because you can't not.
absolutely. Yeah, and my first album isn't this, but obviously any song is like very near and dear to one's soul. It's, an expression of, I think of Happy Feet a lot and how it's like their soul song, it really does feel like that. But the second project is an album and film. It's all ancestral healing. So, oh man, is that it's not only is it indirectly doing that, it's also directly talking about the ancestral healing path and what that journey is like. But I feel like these are more like ideas and stories and things that need to be shared in our world because so many people are like this close to being able to understand that place of them that is so unsettled and still looking for their way into the pond, like to be able to dive deep. And so it might be Oracle decks, creating an Oracle deck. It might be using Oracle decks. It might be song and it might be watching a film that allows them to have that like portal to dive under the surface of like what was kind of frozen or unlocked to them. And then, it's funny, I'm seeing like a frozen pond, but then you dive deep and it's like the coral reef of like an ocean or something. And suddenly everything expands when you're under the surface and you're not panicking about how to get up and out anymore. That's an interesting, I've never seen that before, but that's a nice kind of analogy for it. All right. Anything else that you want to make sure you share with our OracleFest community here, which is growing? I love to see that the numbers just grow on this YouTube. So if you're here and you're not subscribed yet, maybe do that thing and like and subscribe or share the video with a friend or those helpful things. But anything that you, Anna, would like to share before we end our chat today? Anything coming
Yeah,
up
so
you're working on? Yeah.
yeah, so first of all, come to Oracle Fest. And then also, I thought I'd maybe just share a couple links because I don't actually know what I shared with you. And I've created so much in the
Yeah.
meantime that I'm not
Yeah.
sure the information that I gave you is still up to date.
Cool. Well, I'll
So
make sure it's up to date as well. We'll do that as well.
I'll send it to you and an email as well. But so if you want to get a copy of this deck or the journal or anything that I showed you, the best way to find it now is on magicalthings.ca. This is my new online store that I just launched. And there's, yeah, a few things on there now. There's a lot more coming, but that's the best way to get it now. And then if you want to work with me to create your own card deck, then I would invite you to come over to deckcreators.com. That's where I'm going to be supporting creators in the near future and more distant future probably as well. So there's been a lot of transformation in the past year, and I'm supporting people in a new way now, but that's the best way to find all of that right now. And there's anything new, I'll share it later. But
Yeah, that's what I love. I actually really appreciate that Oracle Fest is something that doesn't just die with one event here and there, but that we actually get to see the evolution of some of the speakers and what they're doing, what they're going through. That last number 9 year in 2025 has been a lot for a lot of people, and a lot of people have shut a lot of parts of their business down. And so different ones are going to be opening up this year. So I'm always happy to update things and then to show people where you're at. And yeah, if anyone ever struggles to connect with one of our speakers, but you want to, come reach out to me because I'll make sure you get that. I'll make sure you get the updated info. So Deck Creators Community, so deckcreators.com is what
yes,
yeah, I love that. And magicalthings.ca. So
yes.
perfect. They're so great. They just make so much sense. They're so clear. Good domain names. Just great job.
Yeah. The
Beautiful.
magical things. That was another one that I had already kind of downloaded that name for quite a long time, probably 2 years before I launched that store. But
Yep.
last year was also the year where that needed to come to life. So I'm
So
really
funny.
excited.
Oracle Fest was a title as well. I thought it was just going to be like a little half day workshop one time, like 2 years ago. And it's now just like, whoa, this is so. It was when the vision came through of what Oracle Mountain was and showing me, and there were just so many people at the horizon line. I was like, oh, people really need this. They really need a space where they can learn from multiple different people and not feel like they are outed as the non-expert or you're just a beginner or feel awkward or anything like that. So thank you for getting it and being part of Oracle Fest because it also had that same feeling of, yeah, Eureka, it needs to exist out in the world. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Glad you
Um,
listened.
yeah, I'm glad you listened. I'm glad we're all listening. And for all of you listening, we're glad you're listening. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you for watching these. I know that people do watch through and listen, whether you're liking the video or not. But since you're here, might as well go do that thing if you forgot when I said it last time. And yeah, we'll see you at Oracle Fest, and I will see you multiple times at Oracle Fest. So just keep an eye out for her on the schedule, especially anyone who's curious about Oracle reading and also about creating an Oracle, because Anna is such a good person to know for that journey. She'll be able to help you on how to do that and what ways work best for you because you've been through it so many times in different ways with different people. So you just know exactly what's up. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you so much.